And to our top story this morning, President Trump has hailed bullseye strikes on Iran as he calls for regime change in order to make Iran great again.
Now, it comes as the aftermath of America striking three key nuclear sites, which the US Defense Secretary declared an overwhelming success.
US Central Command conducted a precision strike in the middle of the night against three nuclear facilities in Iran, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan, in order to destroy or severely degrade Iran's nuclear program. And as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs will demonstrate, it was an incredible and overwhelming success.
Well, fears are now growing as experts warn that nuclear material could have been moved by Iran ahead of Operation Midnight Hammer. It comes as satellite images, which you can see on the screen now, reveal that Iran's Fordow nuclear site was severely damaged, but it's unclear as to whether or not it was completely destroyed.
Iran's supreme leader broke his silence in reaction to the strikes on X, stating the enemy had made a grave mistake.
Well, Sir Keir Starmer is now calling for Iran to return to the negotiating table. Well,
joining us now, former Conservative Special Advisor Oscar Redrop and Defence Correspondent, I can't see this, Robert Fox from The Standard. Robert, here's what I want to know, first of all, is just what are we dealing with when you think of these bomb busters that they were? What exactly do they do? How powerful are they?
Well, they weigh 15 tons and they can only be carried by the known carriers are the B-2 bomber, the Spirit, which did this 37-hour round trip, which was 7 of them. Or, it's amazing, you can do it with quite a slow over-the-ground transport Hercules, a gunship, which can carry a bomb that big and risks itself, and you would have to go in from Jordan. So you can see it's a no-brainer. But this is the first time it's been used in anger. They've tried something like it with mixed success in Afghanistan, and it depends what you're trying to break through. Because you say this great weight of this thing, the MOP, the GBU 57, as it's known, the massive ordnance penetrator, has to go down and it detonates at different levels and finally explodes once it has penetrated probably 60 yards, provided it's sand. Solid rock, which they've got at Fordow, they are not so clear about, and I'm still wondering just about whether they may have to go round again.
So how much damage they've actually done. But as you were trying to explain there, this bomb, this penetrates like up to 60 metres of concrete, right? Boom. Yeah. And it explodes a number of times the way down to open up a passage.
And it's the triggering system that is so important. It is not nuclear. It is the most powerful bomb next to a nuclear bomb.
So what you're saying is, whatever the Defence Secretary in the US is saying there or not, they actually aren't sure what they've done, how much damage they've caused, if they've neutralised Iran or not.
BDA. Battle Damage Assessment.
Right.
That's what's going on. And as far as I can make out, as of last night, it was not complete. You have to do it with sensors, with goodness knows what. Oops. And I suspect you may have to do it with intelligence on the ground. Now, you may have kicked the doors in and blocked the entrance to a lot of the underground tunnels. But then there is a secondary question, where it's actually becoming the major question now, which you've raised, Eamon, is where has the stuff gone? Because it was assumed up until the weekend that over half the capacity and storage, possibly, of refined or being refined uranium, and possibly even above 60%, you get to 90% grade, and that is nuclear weapons grade. 50% was thought to be in Fordow. And yet, and there are very clear, very graphic pictures of a convoy of about a dozen trucks taking stuff out of Fordow in the middle of the week, and some of the things that I've got going into the public domain from Israeli intelligence, whatever you say, and it's very clear, particularly from the Air Force, is that they are saying that they are not sure where the stuff, by that I mean the refining uranium, is right now.
Oscar, let's bring you in at this point, because we're hearing that there was a phone call last night between Keir Starmer and Donald Trump. Do you think he feels blindsided by what we saw over the weekend?
He's powerless. What influence has he got? What's the point of a phone call?
No. Eamon is absolutely spot on there. I think depressingly for the UK, if we talk purely about the politics of this, we are as irrelevant as I can remember in my lifetime on this. If anything, I'd say it's slightly worse than irrelevance, because in the week leading up to the weekend, all we were hearing from the Prime Minister was de-escalation, very sceptical. We've been on the phone. We've felt very sceptical that there was going to be a US attack of any sort at all. So we look out of step, we look irrelevant, and actually, when I say it's worse than that, we're clearly not listened to in any shape or form by Trump. That's to be expected in some ways, as Eamon's I think you're getting at, because what could we offer anyway? What cards do we have anyway?
Yeah, but he's not listening to France, he's not listening to Germany. He doesn't have to listen to anyone.
Exactly, but the fact remains is that our special relationship, as we often like to call it, when we reach moments like this now, and global security is the way it is, and we are in a pre-war age. I think, we have been for the last few years, and we are very much in a war age at this moment in time. The fact that our greatest ally in America, our strongest ally in America, clearly doesn't pay a jot of mind or difference to what we as a country take seriously and believe on the global stage is hugely embarrassing for the PM, because he's spent a lot of political capital in this relationship over the last few months.
And he actually can't give a straight answer when he's asked, do you support the US action over the weekend? He can't say yes or no.
Well, I mean...
Because, you'd imagine most of the Labour backbench would say no, we don't support it.
Yeah, but to Eamon's point, in a way, and this is a depressing thing to say, in the real world effect, in terms of the influence it has over America, and then as a result, what's happening in the Middle East, it's almost irrelevant what our Prime Minister comes out and says. That's been proven this week. Yeah. And I think that's really quite embarrassing.
Let's go to Republican commentator Nora Lee Knotson on this one. Nora Lee, we're talking about who listens to Trump and who does he listen to and whatever. What about the Republican Party? Has he carried them with him?
It's a very hard place that the Republican Party is in right now. I think he's tried to quiet a few of the dissenters, but on the whole, as a Republican, as a patriot, I feel betrayed by this decision. And I think now that he's talking about regime change and making Iran great again, his base is going to be very disappointed, because they voted for Trump to make America great again. No new wars, no adventures, no failed 2003 Iraq war. This will be a disaster for our economy, for our budget deficit, and for our security. There's been security warnings issued overnight for Americans abroad. Iran has threatened to activate sleeper cells in the U.S. I feel less safe as an American now living in London. It reminds me of 2003. I was living in Luxembourg. I felt less safe.
There's also a split now in Trump's top team, isn't there? Because he's talking about regime change, which is directly opposite to what J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth were saying just at the weekend.
I agree. I think it's an absolute mistake that we got dragged into this. And it's going to be an absolute distraction to what his platform was, what he got voted on. And it's going to hurt him in the midterms as well, but very concerned where this is going. I don't know if he's using the regime change as a way to try to get Iran to the negotiating table. And I hope maybe that's the case. But quite frankly, we've just destabilized the Middle East and we destabilized the world.
But Robert, you're listening to Nora Lee there, and people think about, we shouldn't have done this and whatever. But you cannot leave Iran with the capability of having nuclear arms. So that was going to have to be bitten at some stage.
My eyes are slightly watering on all this. We're talking second stage, we're talking politics. And by the way, I do think the subtext to Starmer, if it wasn't to Starmer, wouldn't have been to Lammy, but would have been to Healey. What are you going to do if they mine the Straits of Hormuz? You've got stuff in there. You claim your allies there. I put that to Healey. Theoretically, off the record, I see no reason why it should be. When we were on a visit to the AWE, the weapons establishment, very privileged, but not done it for 10 years. And Healey looked at me as if I'd gone mad in suggesting that Iran might mine the Gulf and the Straits of Hormuz and stop the exports of gas and oil from there. And I wondered, who was in a parallel universe looking at him. And I do think that the Brits would have been asked upstream, what are you going to do if things go wrong? And we'd say, oh, no, it's lawfare, not warfare, which is very much the Starmer line, very much in line with his Attorney General. And you say practically, and if it really does go bad, we and the French particularly, and the Germans and the Italians, they're the principals, we've got forces there, will be asked to help out, particularly if you get this multi-faced war of revenge from Iran, this very difficult term. They will get the Houthis going. They won't just attack American bases. I think that will be the fate. They will do almost anything else. Now, to go back to the beginning of this, they've got to ask themselves, particularly these people who feel undermined, the Republican split and this, that, why did Trump do it? And I think Trump was caught by what he was being told by Israeli aerial intelligence, because what was happening in the skies already and is continuing, which is that the Supreme Leader and the Council of Guardians, the top people, had decided to go for a mass campaign, and the word which I haven't heard, but their term is missile saturation. And the possibility was that Israel couldn't withstand that for more than a week or 10 days. I don't know what the calculation is. And I think, who was Trump listening to? Eamon, I really do think he was listening to 2 or 3 key military on this. It's very interesting how he brushed Tulsi Gabbard aside, but I am damn sure he would have been talking to the CIA operatives on the ground, listening to what the Ayatollahs was saying.
Robert, thank you for that. Nora Lee, thank you very much as well. And Oscar, we'll get the 3 of you back again after 7 o'clock and just re-engage with all that you're saying and what the reaction is to that. So for the moment, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, let us know what you think on that one, and we'll try and share as many as we can in the next hour. GBNews.com/yoursay.